Hello, everybody. Andrea Pacini here from Ideas on Stage. Today I have a special guest. So normally it's just me talking to you. Today I am with Lydia Tracy. Lydia is an expert in storytelling. She's recently launched a blog which is called The Impact Animist. And she's also very much involved around corporate social responsibility. And today we are going to have a chat about storytelling. So Lydia, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Right, so expert in storytelling, for us, we are involved in presentations, effective presentations. So for us, it's always very interesting to have a chat with experts like you when it comes to storytelling. And the first question I would like to ask is, why storytelling? Why is it important? Why should we care about storytelling?
I think storytelling really helps people relate and engage with particular topics or issues. The facts and figures of everyday life are all very well and good, and they're important. But what draws people into a topic or an issue are stories, examples of how those facts and figures affect us in everyday life. So stories help bring things to life, really.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned facts and figures. Now, you know what happens when I work with my clients? I also tell them, look, if you want to create an effective presentation, you need to tell stories. And they say, but why should I communicate through stories if I can just communicate my facts and figures? How would you respond to that?
I think many people, when they hear the word story, they think about what they were told as a child. So I remember my parents, my grandparents used to sit in bed with me and read me, nursery rhymes and stories for children. And so many people have that association that it's something that is made up, that is fantasy, that is everything that facts and figures aren't. And so when you say these words, then there's a trigger and there's a different type of association. So my response would really be, well, I'm not asking you to tell me the story you tell your son and daughter at night. What we're looking at are examples to illustrate your facts and figures and make it more relatable. That's really where a story comes in. It's not something that is made up. It doesn't come from fantasy. It's based on your experience and the examples that you can bring from your real day, everyday life.
Okay, so then on that point, then if we consider business professionals, now another thing that comes often in my conversations is, okay, I understand that storytelling is important. I understand that it does make sense to communicate through stories and not just facts and figures. But then in practice, as a business professional, how can they apply storytelling to their own communications, to their own presentations in business? What do you think?
So in a number of ways, I think in business life, it's dominated by PowerPoint presentations, for example. And every time you have a conversation, it seems you have to roll out some kind of PowerPoint presentation. And when building those presentations, you can think, what's the message I want to say? What do I want people to go away with at the end of this? And how do I lead them there? And how do I make it engaging for them and relatable? So, for example, you can have a storyline for your presentation, but also bring in real life examples or stories which illustrate the points you're making along the way. And then also you can involve storytelling by thinking, where are the platforms or the communication platforms that I have or a business professional has to spread a particular message? It might be internal communication channels, it might be PowerPoint presentations, it might be meetings or networking events, and having a bank of examples that they can bring to each of those that can be used and recycled, importantly, to not reinvent the wheel every time, in different types of situations can really help take away work. So you're not thinking every time, what am I going to say? You've already got a bank of examples. And also structure the message and the tone that you want to have over the course of a particular period of time.
Right. So, as we say, it's much more, if we talk about presentations, based on what you said, it's much more than just PowerPoint, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because messages, I think it's 7 times you have to repeat a message before it comes across, and use many different platforms. So, for example, in my role, I work in business and I'm using internal communication channels electronically, I'm using social media, I'm using in-person presentations, I'm using meetings, etc., etc. So there's a whole range of opportunities and platforms to spread a particular message. And it's good to have consistency in the message that you send, and also importantly in the stories that you tell across each of those platforms. So no, you're absolutely right. It's not just a PowerPoint presentation, job done.
It's not just PowerPoint. Yeah. Okay, Lydia, what makes a good story then?
Um, Something that people can relate to in a personal way. So sometimes people are reluctant to share their personal experience and what they've done, and how for example, in England, where I'm from, if you talk too much about yourself, people think you're terribly egotistical and you've got a big head. But actually, it's sometimes sharing personal experiences, things that you've done well, things that you've done not so well. It helps people relate to a situation and understand where you're coming from. So for me, a good story is personal, and it brings you in on sometimes even on an emotional level, so that you can relate to the person and the issue that they're dealing with.
Thank you, Lydia. Absolutely, personal stories are super powerful. Okay, I said at the beginning that you are also involved, as part of your role, you are involved in corporate social responsibility.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting for me as well, because when it comes to social impact and social contribution, I think that's what companies should aim to. We are not in business just to make money. There's much. It's not just about PowerPoint, but it's not just about money either. And so, when it comes to corporate social responsibility, is there a role of, does storytelling play a role in there? And if it does, what's the role of storytelling in corporate social responsibility?
So for me, storytelling is hugely important, because by telling stories, like by mapping, for example, the platforms that you have to tell your stories, and then using those channels to tell stories, you're putting a message out that this is the type of behavior that you like to see within a particular organization. This is the type of initiative that you'd like to see more of. And in resource constrained environments, and businesses are always, you don't spend money for no reason. Having behaviors that people can then model, or having examples to draw from, is really, really useful. So, for example, I've seen organizations really make huge progress on social responsibility and how they approach social impact just by sharing stories. People know, okay, it's okay that we do this. It's acceptable to do this. The management wants us to do this. So let's go off and do it. And then we can share more stories, and you get this kind of snowball effect of positive impacts on society and the environment. So I'd say it's really, really key to keep momentum going and generate more impact over time.
Thank you, Lydia. I do hope that more and more businesses and more business professionals listen to what you're saying, because I think most business communication, and in my particular space, most business presentations are broken. And one of the ways that's the case is because we don't tell enough stories. It's not just about telling stories. It's more than, it's about communicating through stories.
Yeah.
And So I do hope that more and more business professionals and businesses will follow what you are suggesting.
I hope
So,
so.
so Lydia, thank you very much. It's been great having a chat with you. Before we conclude, if people, our listeners, want to get in touch, I know that we've mentioned your blog. Is there anything else, any other way that people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so people can visit my website, which is the impactanimous.com, or they can follow me on Instagram, which is also Impact Animus. So you can direct message me on Instagram or contact me via my website. I'm always open to talk about storytelling.
Great stuff. Okay, Lydia, thank you so much. I wish you all the best, and we keep in touch.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.